Here, and I am in our studio in Mountain Sky Ranch, Northern Colorado, on very close to a 10-day in terms of weather, and just, gosh, actually my day, just broadly, it could be described as a 10. And Mark is in Bangladesh. And how's everything there today, Mark?
Everything's fine, man. A little bit on the cooler side, so which is good. We had extremely hot weather in the summer, but now it's cooling down.
Okay. Well, we're going to cool down, I think, the day after next. So it's coming. Right now, it's still beautiful.
Right.
And just a couple of minutes before we get started. I'm just going to call out somebody I see in the audience. Anita, how are you doing? And have you gotten anything done on your cool project in South Dakota? By the way, I didn't eat any real specific meal today, so I'm munching on a few snacks here before we start. Why doesn't everybody put your fingers to work and put some ones in if you're seeing my webcam and the screen share and hearing me okay right now, and Mark? Just put some ones in, that indicates that everything's cool. And if you would get so bold even, not right now necessarily, I expect you to have to warm up some, but during the webinar here tonight, anybody that wants, just raise your little hand. There's a little icon on your bar that shows that you can raise your hand. And if you do that, we'll unmute you and let you either ask a question or make a comment or do anything like that. Well, I have the middle of the hour, 5:30 here in Colorado. Anita threw a comment in, and by the way, Anita, good point. If everybody wouldn't mind, put where you're at in the world into the little question box. Actually, you're in the right place. I said chat box is way down at the bottom of the little box, but I really meant the Q box, the Q&A box. I was assuming you were in your Chicago area location. Have you had any winter yet in South Dakota, Anita? While she's typing, yeah, land in South Dakota, definitely. Mark, would you go ahead and start recording?
Yep, already did.
Oh, you already have? Wow, thinking ahead. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Wayne and Mark here. We are in our second week of a session on a series on Ecolonomics. Really, actually, maybe the third week. Did we kind of start 3 weeks ago, Mark? Anita says that there's definitely been snow in South Dakota and a smattering of snow in Illinois. If you guys would not be so shy, put where you're at in the world in, and again, put in some ones if you can hear me and see me. Sort of intentionally got my webcam a little distance away. I'm going to be sharing my screen a lot today, and so the webcam is not going to be that important for you. This is a session that we're going to do maybe 15, maybe 20 weeks. I'm going to kind of do topics as they come to my head, and I think they're relevant and pertinent for the times. So we were going to talk a little bit more about aquatic economic topics this week, but I'm going to delay that. By the way, David, thank you for the ones, and Arkansas. I think I should remember that. I think you've told us that before. Maybe put in what the weather's like there also. And Vince, I know I see you there that's been here regularly at other times. I don't remember, but you might be from somewhere outside of the U.S. Not remembering exactly. Anyway, very cool, Anita. Anita's got a farm in South Dakota, and it's going to fit into my topic tonight. So the economic topic we're going to talk about tonight is the sharing economy. And Mark, before you share the screen with me, almost a lot of things that we all do in life without even thinking about it are examples of a sharing economy. The sharing economy has been more advertised, and by the way, sometimes it's called the collaborative economy, sometimes it's called the co-economy, and essentially a very simple definition of it is the optimal use of underutilized resources. So honestly, jobs to a certain extent could be considered a part of the sharing economy. We all have resources that we want to have utilized. We'd like to get paid for using those resources, our minds, our bodies, and we call those jobs. Today we call them also gigs or projects or other things of that sort of naming. And I'm going to just broadly talk about that topic today. Got lots of different graphics and things that I'm going to show. I really want you to think about it. I want to trigger some thought on your minds, because there's at least two ways to participate in the sharing economy or in the collaborative economy. One of those is to have that resource, and you're seeing a picture of an example of that on the screen right now. That happens to be my ranch, mountains ranch. Mark, it's on your screen.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Mark.
I was gonna say I haven't seen.
Maybe.
Yes, I haven't seen it to you yet.
Ken, I'll tell you when to give me the sharing. Okay. On the screen right now is a picture of one little portion of my ranch, and this was taken in the winter still, not even spring, of 1995. 2015, 10 years later. What you're seeing, the piles around, are piles of composted alpaca manure and alpaca hay and other silage and such. About a quarter mile from where you're seeing in this picture to the north, this is looking south down a valley that we have, is a row about 400 yards long of manure, about 15 feet high, that we store there, work it, till it a little bit. We don't do a whole lot of work with it, honestly. We take the Mark Shepard approach, which is stun, strikingly terrific, utter neglect to a lot of things that we do in our farming and ranching. And after about 6 to 9 months, it forms the most beautiful soil amendment you can imagine. All of what you're seeing here was being added in piles to a 2-acre piece of ground that was going to become a market farm. It had been cleared of bigger vegetation, weeds, and even brush a little bit before this picture was taken. This is, maybe this is a little later than I was saying. This might be as late as March, may even be in spring. This is a stream, Mark. If you would use your cursor and go right over the top of where it says online learning for ecology and sustainability, that right there is a stream. So it drops down there. So that, yep, where Mark's got the cursor. 2 years ago, we built a pond that starts right on the other side of the O, and online learning, and then goes south for about 100 yards, and is in an area that's not in the picture right now. But during that summer or that year of 2015, Ben Pfeffer with Raisin Roots Farm, and Mark, look up Raisin Roots right now to show his website, started to farm in a sharing economy mode on our property. Raisin, R-A-I-S-N, Raisin, like raisins. Mark, put an R there. Yep, there we go. There it is. And Ben had a ton of passion for farming and ranching. He had some experience, not a lot. Go ahead and scroll on the page here a little bit. Maybe click on some other pieces of it. But he didn't have land, and he didn't know how to get land really, and he didn't have money. He made most of his income as a soccer referee. He had been farming as a paid hourly farmer on a variety of other farms for a couple of years prior to this. So we ran an ad in another example of sharing economy, Craigslist, and we said, looking for someone to become a market farmer on our land. And a bunch of people applied, and out of an interviewing process, we selected Ben and Raisin Roots Farm. So a little later in the summer that same year, Ben was producing over 80 different varieties of crops. He did some things really well, and some things he struggled with a little bit. But he did well enough that he was also able to attract some other landowners much closer to where his actual home was. Oh, by the way, when he was doing that this year, we provided him housing here in some RVs, recreational vehicles, trailers actually, that we had gotten on Craigslist or through auction. I'm not sure we've gotten them from both those sources, where they had been used up in their lifetimes by their current owners, and they were being made available to us. Another example of a sharing or a collaborative I'll throw a hint out that there's a really funny saying that applies to this, and if anybody can get it, I'll think of something, but I'll give you some kind of a prize. So go ahead and put it in the question mark, and it starts with one, and I apologize, but the way it was, I think, originally stated, it said one man's, but let's say one person's, and then it goes on from there. Anybody that can come up with that, put it in the question box. While you're doing that, Anita is talking about her farm in South Dakota, where her brothers actually live in the area. They operate the farm. She lives most of the year in Chicago. Great example, again, of collaborative economy, where, in this case, family is getting involved in helping do what they do best, in the case of her brothers being farmers, and Anita provided the land. So she said they added heifers, and Anita got it. David did too. You both stated it just a tiny bit of different ways. So I'll think of something cool in terms of a prize for you guys to get from that. Probably I'll think about it and get an email out to you in the next few days, but something related to our EAT community. So she says on here that her brothers have added heifers to their operation, and they're researching getting a mobile abattoir, which is essentially another term for a processing circumstance, I think. And again, a mobile kind of effort would be, and that, by the way, that was Ben Pfeffer's girlfriend, and then that's Raisin. The dog's name is Raisin, and then it's named after a raisin, which he looks a little bit like, with his different sort of brown colors, and that's where he named his farm from. David and Anita both got it, and then Anita says they own it together. But maybe you were able to put in some of the capital or some of the thought, but you shared some things in the economy. So David, he actually changed it, he didn't. One man's trash is another man's treasure. And Anita says one man's junk is another man's treasure. And that's very true. And so in the case of these RVs, they were trash to some other folks. And I had at least one of them given to me, and then a couple of others just paid little to nothing for them. And they became wonderful lodging, and that they've been used ever since. 2015 was the first year we've used them, and I bet those units have had 70% occupancy ever since then. Right now we have a family of 4 living in one of them, and we had 2 people that were in another one, and I mean, they've just been an ongoing wonderful situation for people. So Ben started a market farm on that property. So go back to the Eat community site for a second, and operated there, and then he was able to expand into this. So while Mark's doing that, oh, by the way, your weather in Arkansas was 60 and 30s at night. That's almost the same here. It was 68 here today, and we're going to get into the mid-30s tonight. Mark, I'm going to take over the screen. Would you hand it to me, please?
Okay. Yep. It's yours.
Okay. And Mark, are you seeing my screen?
Yep, I see your screen. All right.
Okay. So I did some research today, looked up a bunch of articles, got a bunch of images and different things that we're going to talk about. And here's an example from a blog where it says, what is the sharing economy? By the way, you're going to see lots of different people's views on what it is and if it's bad or good, by the way. Example company's definition, pros and cons. Okay? And here's an example of sharing. When you put your hands together to say you're going to be a team, or you shake hands or something like that, you're sharing. And lots of examples. I don't want to read too much, but some call it the gig economy, others call it the peer economy, others the collaborative economy, or collaborative consumptions, and others the sharing economy. So lots of different things. Tomato. What's more important, what it's called is what it is. Right? It's and somebody from, and this is in Fast Company, which is a really big blog, lots of readership. It was pointed out the sharing economy has long lacked a shared definition, but maybe it's best to even break it into a bunch of different realms. So all forms of collaborative consumption on the internet provide providers with customers. And I said before, there's probably 3 ways that you can be involved in the sharing economy. You can be the provider of a resource that's underutilized. You can be the user of a resource that's underutilized. Or, this is the one that people don't think about a lot, you can somehow invest and hopefully make some money from being involved in that sharing process. And we're going to talk about a couple of those situations here today. So, Turo is an example of a place where you can rent your car through Turo, where people can book it, use it, pick it up, Turo provides insurance. Turo provides all the details of the rental process. You just make your car available. That's a real key. The best of sharing economy examples are ones where the entity or person with the underutilized asset, the less they have to do to put it into more use, higher use, the better they work. And there's going to be some examples. This is one that I don't think I thought about as much because honestly, I have a loan through Lending Club. And I didn't realize that people considered Lending Club a sharing economy, a peer-to-peer lending, which means instead of money going into an entity like a bank and sitting there, the bank makes money on that money, and then they make all the decisions when people come to them to get money, and they make decisions to lend it. In this case, a platform like Lending Club, they go out on both sides. They look for people who want to borrow money, and they look for people who have money to lend, and really they just act as an intermediary. They ask those people who want to lend their money, what criteria would you like to have the person that's going to borrow your money have? Usually it's a credit score and an amount of money versus the person's net worth, a percentage. Excuse me, one of these snacks that I was eating got down the wrong thread there. There's even one, this is one I haven't heard of recently that's fairly new, called SoFi. I'm going to click on it. That supposedly makes student loan in a sharing economy mode. So here's an example of some descriptions related to student and parent loan refinancing, how to take long-term student debt and be able to repay it during the process. And here's an example. SoFi partners with Ladder, which is an insurance company that is backing up people when they lend, when they lend. People don't often realize that, but very rarely are primary lenders, banks even taking much risk. They almost always buy insurance policies to protect them against failure on the part of their borrowers for returning their money. And then here's an example. It's a high yield cash management account that blends the best features of checking accounts, savings accounts, and cash back cards. So literally figures out how to put all that together. It utilizes FDIC also to ensure so that you know if you put your money into it, this is for the investors, that you can put your money into it and it'll be protected up to 1.5 million. You can do all kinds of things. So that's SoFi. Let me go back to that other article real quick for a second. By the way, throw in questions or comments anytime you want. Click on whether you'd like to unmute yourself also. And Mark, you'll be watching that to see if anybody would like to be unmuted.
Right.
So I don't think lending is an area that people a lot of times think about, but peer-to-peer lending is an example. Crowdfunding has become a huge example, which is where if you're looking to start a business, you would go to things like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. There's a whole bunch of others out there. WeFunder, just you name it, lots of them. To where you could raise money, where a whole group of people might invest as little as $1 to fund whatever it is that you have going. And unlike peer-to-peer lending, this is important. Usually this is not money that has to be repaid, like a loan would be. It's usually an investment where the people making the investment are taking a risk. They may never get their money back. So it's just like larger, more traditional investing would be. this is where we probably have heard of as much as one other we're going to see, which is renting of places to stay, where it's for a night or multiple nights. Airbnb, VRBO, home exchange. Another one that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, which is Yonder. And you've actually heard me talk a little before, because I'm actually an advisor to the company Yonder, which specifically is pairing people who have properties that have some kind of a nature experience associated with them with people who want to enjoy nature and aren't sure how to. And so that's an example, again, of this whole category of apartment house renting and couch surfing. Here's the other big one that people think about, ride sharing and car sharing, where I talked about Turo. Most of you have probably used Lyft or Uber. Why don't you throw in, by the way, put a one in, or ones if you've used either Lyft or Uber. Or even Turo before. Co-working. The reason I decided to make this shift today, to do this rather than talk about aquatic economic issues, which we'll get to, there'll be plenty of weeks for that, was I have a really poor internet service here at my ranch, where I do most of these sessions, and we're going to be doing more and more. It's satellite, and we don't have area-wide Wi-Fi. We don't have cell phone coverage here. So we have dishes and satellite many miles up in the sky is bouncing a signal to us. Challenge with it is there's a big time delay with it. It's almost a second from the time that it leaves wherever it's coming from until it gets to us, or when we upload, when it goes. When I'm talking to you, you're getting this almost a second after it actually is it's out of my lips. GoToWebinar does a great job of buffering, because I'm watching and I can actually see that we're pretty well timed in terms of what I'm hearing. Be curious if you've seen them. Anita brought up another really great point, and that is about Kickstarter example. They don't always just provide the investment incentives for their investors. They also give donative presents to people. That's a great word. And and she's just said she's gotten a lot of cool donative goodies as from Kickstarter projects. Anyway, on the co-working side, we have this terrible internet situation. What's even worse about it is we actually get a limited number of gigs. We get a limited amount of bandwidth for the total for a month. And our anniversary day each month is the 19th. So every month we're getting to the point where for at least the last 4 or 5 days, we're trying our hardest not to use any of our bandwidth, because we'll end up running out. Most of the time, and by the way, we've been on this type of system since 2013, so over 7 years. And rarely have we run out before the month. We did this month. We ran out on the 13th this month. And when I say run out, I mean run out. And it just goes to nothing. I mean, we can send emails and receive emails maybe, but there's no way you can stream and do other things. So I finally decided I have got to find a place where we can put our studio, we can do our online types of things that isn't here at the ranch, where we have consistent internet. Well, so I started to look at some small offices around where I live. And I live about 11 miles from the nearest town. It's about a 15,000 person town, and there are places available to rent there. And I actually have a lock on one if I want it. It's going to start January 1st, but it wasn't available right away. And I thought about the whole co-working idea, and because I'm a very strong advocate of it, but I've never done it myself. We actually do it here at the ranch. We call what we have at the ranch, and what you saw for that market farm, the Raisin Roots, is an ecological business park, where again our asset that we have is land, and we also have equipment, and we have a wide variety of types of land. So at any given time, we've got anywhere from 5 to 20 different businesses operating here. And so that's a co-working circumstance. So I started to look at some co-working locations, and I chose one yesterday, and today was my first day there, and it's called Office Chair, and I'll show you its website a little bit later. To have 200 megabytes per second internet speed, unlimited gigabytes. I can use as much as I want. I probably downloaded 10 gigs worth of stuff today in just no time. So co-working places like WeWorks and others you've heard of, but there's some real cool ones that are in the restorative and regenerative area too. And one of them, and I haven't looked at this site in a long time, but it's called the Coop in Chicago. And I've been there, but it's been 5 years probably, maybe longer. So let's see what their website shows us today. It's loading here, so I'll go to it, and again, I can see because of the way it's spinning that it's not loading real fast yet. And it says it can't be reached. It's because of my internet. It's just not loading it. Mark, could you see if you could open it on yours? And if you can, go ahead and take the screen back for a minute, because I would like to show it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's CoopDesignCompany.com. That's not a good sign, because I'm almost worried that it's closed now, because I'm pretty sure it used to be Coop.com, and I think that's just now a name for a parked web name, unfortunately.
One design.
Go ahead. If you find it, take the screen back anytime you want.
Okay.
So this one that I'm in, I called Office Chair, and it's officechair.com. Mark, did you find it?
Wait, could you repeat the address again? Coop.one design. The web address.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually the website.
Oh, okay.
I got rid of it, but under that slide. And then Coop, just try Coop.com and see where that takes you.
Okay. Coop. Yeah, Coop.
The one I'm at, unbelievable place. It's just Coop.com. Mark, if there's nothing there, don't. It's fine. Just tell me.
Yeah, I haven't. The
Office Chair is an old bank building. Okay, forget it, Mark. Ignore it. Mark, ignore it. Forget it. We're going to go on here. Okay?
All right, I'm going to
give me back the screen, please. Yeah. There it looks like maybe it's a rental deal now. So forget it. Let's ignore it for now. I've got a frame of thought. I'm trying to continue here, Mark, please.
Yeah,
guys, we argue like this a little bit. We've been doing stuff for 8 years together. I apologize, but Mark, I'd like the screen back, please.
Wait, you got the screen. You just
thank you. All right, cool. So I started checking out. I checked out. Mark, would you let me talk, please? What is it that you want, Mark?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Office chair. I looked at 5 different locations in my area where I have 2 cities that are about 100,000 in population within about a 20 to 25 minute drive. And the one I ended up feeling the best about was called Office Chair. And it's an old bank building. It's a historic site. It's in our beautiful now new downtown of Loveland, walking distance from all kinds of other really great places. And the bank was shut down years ago and was operated by a publishing company for a number of years. And then the publishing company sold it to the guys that started this co-working facility. It's a 2-story building with a full basement, and then they have built a rooftop area with covered for weather protection, but views out to the Rocky Mountains that are just amazing. And we'll do one of our daytime webinars from there in the very near future. It's just an amazing view. Well, for a monthly fee that is month to month, you don't sign a contract, you pay by the month, and you can cancel with as little as a week's notice. You can get just the access to the space and can sit in the place and work from places where you can plug your computer in and just wander around for the lowest cost. You can get what's called a hot seat, which is actually a desk which is wherever it might be available in the building. Or you can get a dedicated desk that allows you to leave stuff there. You have a locker that you can put your stuff into. There's 24-hour security. By the way, for that membership type, you get 24/7 access. You can go there anytime and use it. You use a key card to get in one of 5 different doors, and it's just amazing. The services, though, are way more than just a desk, or you can have a dedicated office. And there are companies in there with, I think the largest has 12 people, and they have a number of offices put together to where it's just like, you see in a lot of other just non-shared office economies. There's a total of 170 desks, and before the pandemic started, they had actually rented all of them. And when the pandemic started, they've lost a bunch of members, and they've gone down to where they're now about 70% occupied. And a lot like a health club also. Health club is a sharing economy. They provide equipment and places to run, to play basketball, do whatever, swim, you name it, for a large group of people in a sharing sort of mode. Well, at this one, you get in my case, I have a dedicated office. I have 5 different break rooms that I can store food in, and refrigerators that have all my needed silverware and such. I don't have to wash any of it. When I'm done with it, I put it in the sink. They have staff that cleans everything. There's a liquor license for the whole building, so people can bring in whatever they want liquor-wise. One of the perks is at the end of every day, anybody that's a member can get a draw of beer or a glass of wine, if that's something you like. There are multiple conference rooms that you can use of all different sizes, up to the largest one that'll seat, it's an event center, really 300 people. There's a gym and a locker rooms for men and women with showers. They provide the towels. They clean up the area. They've enhanced their air treatment system for the COVID situation. In 9 months now, they've not had one person that's been tested positive for COVID because of the rules that they set out. It is just an amazing place for both doing your work and for networking. What would you think a private office where they provide the desk, they provide the chairs, they provide the lighting, they provide all this shared space. What do you think that would be fair to pay for that a month in the United States? I will tell you that if you just were to rent a vacant, bare office in a lot of places, just to give you a framework, it could be as much as $1,000 a month for a 10 by 10 office. My space is about 8 by 10 that I have. So put in a guess or what you think that might be from a monthly basis. Anyway, this is one of the highest and fastest growing areas. Reselling and trading, we've already talked about it. Things like eBay and Craigslist. Even Amazon is to a certain extent sharing economy. So you can take your stuff and let Amazon represent it for you. They clearly are sharing economy when it has to do with delivery that they use now. Knowledge and talent sharing. Things like TaskRabbit, Zarly, LivePerson, Upwork, Fiverr are freelancing sites. Here's one, Mechanical Turk, that's just for people that look to do mechanical sorts of things. Let's open that one. That's one that I haven't heard of. Mark, would you put this URL into the chat so people can have it? So moneycrashers.com/sharing economy.
Okay.
Oh, it looks like Mechanical Turk is an Amazon company. My guess is it didn't start being Amazon, but I'm guessing that Amazon bought them, if we were to look this up. And I bet the guys that found it or gals that found it, the people that found it, sold it for a huge multiple on what they put into it investment-wise. We'll let that roll for a minute while that goes to open. Niche services. Spinlister lets you rent a bike when you're traveling. And Lyft is a scooter company in cities. There's all kinds of things like that. And this goes on to talk about the advantages of it, and we've talked about them. Stronger communities. That's another advantage of this co-working space. You know, I've already, in one day, I created business relationships with 4 other people there. Just one day. So here's their Amazon Mechanical Turk. So this is IT work, obviously. So it's not, I was thinking it might be electricians and plumbers and so on, but this is specifically electronic IT type things. So here's a really cool graphic. And it actually is in an article. Actually, it's this next one. I believe, so I don't think I need to do this. Let's go here. 4 trends in the sharing economy in 2019. Yeah, here it is. So we're going to go back 7 years from right now in 2020, and see that of the 10 different areas that this particular graphic shows as areas for which there are currently sharing economy activities, staffing, media streaming, shared mobility, hospitality, peer-to-peer crowdfunding. We've talked about a lot of these different names for them. Rental equipment, online media, rental cars, hotels and accommodation, book rental. In 2013, only 5% of those services were provided by sharing economy companies. So out of $255 billion in those 10 sectors in the US alone, revenue from the 5 sharing economy sectors, there were only 5 of them that were even in the sharing economy, and it was these 5, not these over here. And that revenue is now $15 billion. Today, it's 50-50. And it's in the 10 sectors, revenues 670 billion, and in the 5 sharing economy, it actually is only saying right now it's talking about these 5, even though there are these 5 also. It's 335. It's it's projected to be in 2025, not today. So now, let's just look at another one that talks about 15 companies specifically. And we talked about some of those already. And Mark, if you could put this URL into the chat also. This is about a year, just a little over a 2-year-old article. Again, it talks what is the shared economy. And here's 15 companies. One of them is Neighbor, which is sort of self-storage. So it allows using people's already existing storage area to share. And the costs are as little as $54 a month, where the hosts can earn over $400 a month. Rover is a good example as a place for dog boarding. That's the second one they're profiling. Neighbor is the first. Rover is the second. Uber has evolved to that, ride sharing. Turo, where it's not ride sharing, it's your vehicle. You're sharing your vehicle. Just Park is a parking service. I've not seen this one, just because we don't have a lot of parking around here. That is anything more than parking meters, and it's free in most other places. So here's Just Park, the website coming up. We have a little over 15 minutes yet. I've just got probably about that much to show, but if you've got questions or comments, throw them in. So Anita says she's doing an electro pollution webinar this month. You're doing it? You're hosting it? We'd love to know about it, maybe promote it. Anita, if we could, tell us about it. So here's an example where you say, where do you want to park? Select the date and time, when you want to come and when you want to leave. So let's just say Denver International Airport. Oops, not airport. Let's see, how do I keep getting a Q there? I thought sure I typed an A. Wow, typed a bunch of Qs. Hey. And most of the time when I park in an airport, I don't plan ahead that much. So we're going to say we want to do this. Okay, why did that go away? Maybe this site's got some problems. Where do you want to park? I already put something in. And you have to select this first. Let's say it's tomorrow. We want to leave tomorrow. So we want to get there tomorrow. And maybe we want to leave. We want to leave there through Sunday. And I don't know why I got rid of my Denver International Airport. Oh, here we go. There it is. Okay. And show parking spaces. I know what it costs because I've flown out of there a lot, and I sometimes will park right near the terminal, and I sometimes pay through the nose, and I'll tell you what that number. No nearby results. Either they're booked for the time, or there are just no just park spaces in this area. Okay, that's not good. I can't imagine they don't have any. It could be that it's just there's nothing for tomorrow. Let's change this to 23rd through the 27th, and let's see if any show up. We're not doing good. Sounds like they don't have a lot here in the Denver area. Oh well, we're not doing it on this one. I don't like this website much, really. So that's the parking space. TaskRabbit, that's for people that provide services like carpentry here. So I've actually used that site. We talked about Lending Club. Poshmark is used clothing that people want to allow other people to use. Sitter City is ways to get caregivers. Kickstarter is the funding group we talked about. Postmates is a food delivery service. RV Share is, as it says, sharing RVs. There's a Volkswagen minibus. Eat With is ways that you can actually dine with other people. Probably isn't doing so well during the pandemic. This is one I didn't know about at all, which is the healthcare industry and sharing medical services. Come on, don't be shy, folks. Throw some questions or comments in. CrowdMed should be coming up here soon. This is an example of my slow internet. I almost did this tonight from the new office chair location, but just decided to do one more from here before I start to really get down there. This is not coming up very fast. Let's site that already got up. Here's a very cool one, Mark. You put this URL up, moneynomad.com, 100 sharing economy apps. It looks like it's a little longer than that. Let's see what else is here. Websites, 100 sharing economy apps websites /. This is very cool because it really does have 100 of them on here. And in a lot of the same categories. So here's ride sharing, Lyft, and see which ones you recognize. I'll tell you which ones I do. Lyft, Uber, I do. I've not heard of Hot Skip Drive, not heard of Get, I've not heard of Zimride. Accommodations, Airbnb, I've heard of that. Camp in My Garden, not heard of that one. Home Away, I've not heard of that. Love Home Swap, haven't heard of that. Short-term stays, haven't heard of that. Roomerama, haven't heard of that. Rent space. Anita says that they want to do something with agritourism. and possibly building tiny houses. Yeah, that would be a great idea. You're going to have to make sure that the market works, that people really want to go to your area. Rental spaces, Just Park, we talked about that. We picked that up. We didn't necessarily see it much. CrowdMed's not, whatever reason, really taking some time to load. SpaceEye, Splicer. So Splicer is looking for space to host your short-term event or production. Actually, very cool. Liquid Space, Lux, valet parking, shared earth. Oh, that's kind of cool. It allows people to garden on your unused property in return to share the crops. Let's see what that is. Pure Space, your parking space. Vehicle renting, Turo is the big name. Get around, I've heard of that one, don't know much about it. Boat bound, that's for boats rather than cars. Get My Boat, similar. There's another boat sharing, Tubber, RV share, I've actually heard of that one. Spin Lister, that's the bike, we had that one on the previous site. Dining, so Eat With, we saw that. Bon Appetit, not heard of that one, not heard of meal sharing, not heard of Feastly. Education, we are here at EAT, the EAT community. What I'm doing right now is essentially shared economy education. So some of the big ones, I've not heard of Verbling, but it sounds like it's for language teachers. Udemy, I've heard of that one, it's a big one. Wiseant, haven't heard of that. ClassGap, haven't heard of that. CoMentor, haven't heard of that. Code Mentor, it looks like for coding issues. Langedemy, which is for languages. Childcare, Urban Sitter, Care.com, Sitter City, we saw that before. Go Nannies, Pet Care, Rover, we saw that. Dog Vacay, that's Pet Care. Health, Beauty, and Wellness, CrowdMed, we couldn't get the site to open. Let's see if it's finally opened here. Nope, still sitting there. Let's see about let's say about the shared earth. Really want to see, this is the opening. Enter your street address to begin. Again, it's loading real fast. It looks like there's a lot more to add here. I don't know which one is which. Guess you still have to put your street address. So I'm going to put mine in. Let's see what happens here. Okay, that's done. Looks like you got to sign up down here, which I'm going to do. So, and it might be a Business of Sustainable America, which is a fairly large sort of group worldwide, or US-wide mainly. Well, I'm not going to continue to spend time there. Let's go back to our 100 sites. CrowdMed, Zeal is an Uber for massages. Soothe is licensed massage. Glam Squad is beauty artists. Style C, similar. Wello is a personal trainer site. Labor and Simple Tasks. Zarly, we saw that one on another site. Take Easy, Your Mechanic. That's one I also want to check out because I'm looking for mechanics. TaskRabbit, they do chores, bellhops, where you can help people park their cars, handy, housekeeper, handyman, dolly, you have a truck and you want to make some extra money, lawn love, buddy truck, similar thing with truck and van, go share, similar to buddy truck, thumbtack, I think I've heard of that. That's for personal training. Oh yeah, you can do all kinds of things with that. Field agent, Bide Vine, freelancers, okay? Professional advice, Talkspace, Hourly Nerd, Coach Up, Pop Expert, New Me, Coach Me, Law Trades, Up Counsel. Clothing, accessory, and cap, Etsy, and that's it. Actually, sales more than it is sharing. Style In, Poshmark, we saw, Swap Style, Zibit, Financial and Investing, Lending Club, we mentioned. WeFunder, we mentioned. Prosper is mentioned. Web and Technology Assistance, Design Crowd, Fawn, Data Wallet, Crowdio, Everyday Goods, Neighbor Goods, lawnmowers, bikes, scooters, Zylock, Stuff, Delivery and Logistics, Postmates, we talked about that, Instacart, UShip, Saucy, Munchery, Tours, Get Your Guide, Bayable, With Locals, Miscellaneous, Cartiz, we'll get your renting your vehicle again. And David, I'll get it to your question or comment here in just a second. Proofreading, Seataroo, you can get a seat on a plane. You can sell your really good seat to someone sitting in the back. I didn't know about that. That's kind of cool. Trustify, have the chops and background to be a private investigator. Cool. Fancy Hands, which is a virtual assistant. Virtual. So you guys have probably heard us say we're starting one that's called VA 365, where Mark and Arib are going to find virtual assistants in Pakistan and Bangladesh to work with people here in the U.S. And we're going to actually talk about that on EAT at some point. So David says, I think pet care and farm sitting would be a great sharing resource. People who farm have a hard time getting away. Yes, that's absolutely true. And I'm betting there is a site out there. Is it always in the area you're in? Maybe not. I mean, that's the one thing you got to check on. Drop Trip, Rent-A-Fin, 3D Hubs. I think that's the end of it there. I want to do one other thing. I'm not going to get to it. We'll start out next week with it, which is I have one called Fluid Truck that I'm probably going to invest in. So this is where it's on the investing side. And here is the deck for it. And we'll talk about this next week. It's where you can invest in actually, they set up all the ownership and everything, and then they do all the rental for you. This gives all the economics of it. And where you can, at some risk, but hopefully minimal risk, rent your truck out, which they've helped you put all together. So Mark, anything more from you? Any thoughts to end up? Any more questions from the audience? This has been great. You guys were pretty involved tonight.
So there are so many business ideas. Like if you share anything, looks like your car or property, office, that's pretty good. I don't have.
Yeah, cool.
I don't have any other questions. I think you addressed all the questions from the audience already.
And I think you put some of these URLs in the chat, right, Mark? Which means when we put this up for the replay, you guys will be able to get those.
Yep, I'll have them. I put most of them
Very cool.
But I'll get the all the URLs from from the replay.
Very cool. We have one more webinar this week still, which is Bob Christador on Thursday, where he's in his 15th week of a series on take back your sanity. That's what I call it. But basically, it's how do you deal with all the uncertainty that's going on in the world today? What are ways? And he's going to have a very cool guest speaker this week that actually is an animal whisperer. And you think, well, what's the relevance of that? She's able to help you train or work with your animal, your dog, your cat, whatever, and have them be very soothing to you, helpful for you in your life. So very cool. All right, Mark, why don't you take us out? It's been great, everybody. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. Eat community, go.